My presentation is on the Compromise of 1850 and the Fugitive Slave Act. First, we'll discuss the Compromise of 1850. The Compromise consisted of 5 laws passed in September of 1850. This dealt with the issue of slavery and territorial expansion. This allowed states to determine whether or not they wanted to be free states or slave states. In the addition to territory added California as a free state and left Utah and New Mexico to decide for themselves. This also defined a new Texas-New Mexico boundary, which allowed slave owners to recover runaway slaves due to the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. The Compromise of 1850 was masterminded by 2 men, Whig Senator Henry Clay and Democratic Senator Stephen Douglas. Henry Clay ran for president 5 times, and each time he did not successfully receive the title. Secretary of State under John Quincy Adams, and he was the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And Senator Stephen Douglas was a senator from Illinois, and he worked closely with Clay to create the Compromise of 1850. Literature that was important during this time was poetry. I'm going to read you a quote straight from a source describing the importance of poetry. Whitman was not alone among Northerners in his dismay at the compromise, nor was he the only poet to articulate his concerns in verse. At once reflecting and shaping political realities, poetry captured the drama of public life, and at the turn of the 1850s, and featured predominantly in the civic disclosure of those years. So poetry was used as a writing tool to articulate what was going on during this time period and the issues that went with it. Next, we have the Fugitive Slave Act. There was 2 of them passed. The first one was passed in 1793, and it allowed the local government to seize and return slaves who had escaped from their owners. In 1850, another Fugitive Slave Act was passed, and it compelled citizens to assist in the capture of runaway slaves and denied enslaved people the right to a jury trial. It also placed control on individual cases in the hands of federal commissioners who were paid more for returning a suspected slave than for freeing them, meaning that those who returned slaves got a great deal of money or currency, so they were enticed to return slaves back to their slave owners. Unfortunately, in June of 1864, both the Compromise of 1850 and the Fugitive Slave Act were both repealed by Congress. Excuse me. Literature that was important during the Fugitive Slave Act, the Bondwoman's Narrative. It was written by Hannah Crafts, and it was written in the mid-19th centuries, but was never officially published until 2002. The novel is an account of Craft's life as a slave in the South. A little bit more about Hannah Craft is she was born in around 1830, and she was a house slave. She eventually escaped from slavery in North Carolina around 1857 and migrated to New Jersey. And that's it.